In this episode, I want to talk about what to do with the frustration that you feel when you play. Hey there, I'm Eli Strawman, a performance coach and the founder of SuccessStartsWithin.com. Does the frustration that you feel when you play help you or does it hurt you? And this is something that we have to figure out because the answer is going to be different for different players. Some players, they feel frustration, and then that frustration turns into positive aggression, where they turn around and they play very well. Other players, they deal with frustration, and this turns into a huge distraction. So what's the difference there? Well, when frustration turns into positive aggression, this means that you're trying harder. It means that you put in more effort. It means that you focus more. So we can see this frustration be a little bit like energy that athlete takes and then uses to help them play better. A prime example of this is a basketball player who gets frustrated either at themselves or the other team, and then they just really turn it on. They go crazy. They play really hard defense. They're driving to the basket hard. They're finishing. But the thing here is they have to stay under control. Whether you are a basketball player, a football player, a tennis player, a soccer player, a swimmer, right? No matter what sport you play, if you're using frustration to help you, this means that you feel frustrated and then you take all that energy, that feeling of frustration, and then you turn it into energy and you play more aggressively. If that's happening, you have to stay under control. Because I've also talked to other players who got super frustrated, right? And then they tried to play really aggressively, but then they were out of control. They were, if I just use the same basketball player example, you're driving to the basket and you can't finish very well because you're going full speed. You foul a lot on the defensive side because you're just out of control, right? And then this aggressiveness, this frustration is not very helpful. So that's one way that the frustration is not going to be helpful. So we have to be very careful to make sure that we are able to control this aggressiveness and control this frustration if we are using it in that way. The other way is that or the other way that typically happens is that frustration becomes a distraction. And this is where, like I was saying, you become too aggressive and you're just so caught up in getting back at the other team or making up for the mistake that you made that you play too aggressive, right? But another thing that can happen is the frustration becomes a distraction to where you keep thinking about it. The prime example of this is when you're frustrated at yourself for a mistake you made, and then you just keep beating yourself up, and maybe your emotions get the best of you, and you can't quite move on. At the end of the day, during a game, the only thing that you need to be focused on is playing well moving forward. Now, I know that sounds very obvious, but when you get frustrated, you're so concerned with what has happened, right? And when it's a distraction, you're just caught up in the fact that you made that mistake and, I wish I hadn't made that mistake. I suck. Why did I do that? Or, you're frustrated at the bad call the official made and you're so pissed off because they made that bad call. But again, you're stuck on that bad call. You're still thinking about it. If we hold on to this approach of every moment during a game should be approached in a way that helps me play well moving forward, play well for that moment and for the remainder of the competition. If that's the approach we take, then we have to make sure that frustration is not a distraction and that we don't allow frustration to get the best of us. So what can you do then, right? If you do struggle with some frustration, well, the first thing you need to do is take a very honest look at yourself and ask yourself, am I able to control the frustration I feel and use that in a positive way? And remember, to use frustration in a positive way means you are taking that energy and you are directing it toward helping yourself play more aggressively and with more effort, and you're able to do so in a controlled manner. Now, I can't answer this for you. Maybe your coaches could if you talk to them or your parents, but I think you honestly have to look at it very objectively and honestly for yourself. I'll be very honest with you. I wasn't able to use frustration to help me. I played baseball, and whenever I got mad and I went up to the plate, I tried too hard. When I was playing in the field and I was pissed off, it was a distraction for me. It just didn't help me out, but that's just because my personality thrived on being more relaxed and having fun. I'm just not really the kind of guy that really performs well when I'm angry. But I have worked with many players who are able to do so. And so this is where you have to know your personality, right? And you can't allow anybody else to tell you the specific mindset you need when you play because it's going to be based on your personality. Now, of course, there are certain core principles we need to apply, like we don't need to be too stressed or whatnot, but you have to understand your personality. So you first need to take that very honest look at yourself. And if the answer is no, right, you can't control the frustration, you can't control your aggressiveness when you do get angry like that, then we need a different approach. And the different approach is going to be, we need to change your reaction to the frustration. You're always going to feel frustrated. If there's a bad call, if you make a mistake, if the other team's playing really well, you're going to feel frustrated. Perfectly fine. What's not fine is allowing that frustration to stick around, right? We don't want to allow that frustration to stay there. We have to do something about it. And the way that we manage frustration when we play is that we have to get our thinking to change. We have to get our mind to stop dwelling on whatever it is that was making us angry, because when our attention stays on that thing, the frustration grows. I'm working with a player right now who struggles with getting frustrated over bad calls. Something he and I have talked a lot about is that we have to take his thinking off the bad calls, get him to stop thinking about them and dwelling on them, and to focus on something else. The something else will likely be the next possession, the next play, whatever it ends up being. And a way that you can try to make this very actionable for yourself is you want to try to accept what happened. I know that's not a very attractive thought, but you want to accept what happened, because the truth is, whatever's making you frustrated is out of your control for a wide variety of reasons, but the main one right in front of you is that it was in the past. You can't control it anymore. So we want to accept that it happened, and then we want to remind ourselves of what we need to focus on to help ourselves play well. And I like to use that as motivation, and that's why I mentioned it earlier, because when we are able to rationally think during a game, is this helping me play well? If the answer is no, it's not going to make it immediately easy for us to move on, but it will help us start to get back into that attitude and that mindset of, I need to let this go, and I need to try to refocus, because being frustrated isn't helping me play better. And then you can get refocused onto whatever is next. But you're not going to be able to manage this frustration well when you play if you can't control your thinking in that moment, if you can't get your thinking off of the frustration, right? If you're just dwelling on that frustration, it will only get worse. So for yourself, if you want to manage the frustration, that you experience when you play, the first thing you need to do is be very honest with yourself. Am I using this energy to help me play more aggressively? If you're not right now, and the energy and the frustration is just a distraction, you can honestly try to do that, right? Maybe try to play a little bit more aggressively and to let out that frustration and anger in that way. Again, as long as you stay under control. If you cannot stay under control, if you tend to beat yourself up, then let's focus on changing our thinking after the frustration or whatever situation happened that caused us to get frustrated, right? Let's change our thinking there. And then let's think, okay, well, what do I need to be focused on or thinking about or doing right now to help myself play well? Because no matter how mad I am that I made the mistake or that there was a bad call or the other team is winning, the only thing I need to be focused on right now at this current point within the competition is putting myself in a position to play well moving forward. And that's what your mentality needs to be like when you're dealing with frustrations when you play. Now, I know that frustrations are very difficult, right? And there are a lot of complexities to us managing frustrations when you play. So if you are interested in a more personalized approach to this, I do offer one-on-one mental coaching. It's a 12-week program. And so if you're interested in learning more about that, I've put a link to it in the description below. And I also have an online course available called the Confident Competitor Academy. That's going to walk you through a lot of different mental skills that you can use to let go of fear, let go of anxiety, manage frustration, build confidence, and ultimately play freely. And so I've also put a link to that in the description below as well. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I put out new videos each week on sports psychology and mental training. Thank you for watching, and I wish you the best of success, and I'll let you go.